Excellent. Well, welcome everybody. Really excited to have this first monthly workshop around menopause and the brain, and specifically menopause and brain fog, but it really is menopause, our mind and our brain. My name is Cara Bradley, and thinking that I met most of you all on TikTok. I've been on the platform for just a couple of months and have really been finding it to be incredibly rewarding community of women that are looking for answers when it comes to their how they feel during this menopause time. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself, and let me just give you the agenda so you have a framework for where we're headed. So I'm just going to give you a bit of an intro. A lot of you, if you've been on my lives, you probably know a little bit about me. And then I want to get into the symptoms of menopause brain fog and why, or what I know and what we're learning now in science. So just so that you have a little bit of background as to why you may be feeling this way. And then we're going to talk about 3 specific solutions. And I generally talk about these on my daily lives, but because now we're seeing each other's faces and it's not just a scroll of questions and comments, I feel like we can relax and we can get into it. So the first is gut brain, the gut brain axis, and why that is so important when it comes to menopause brain fog. The second one is exercise and things that we can do, evidence-based ways that we can exercise that will help with brain fog, help with production of estrogen even, and then sleep, and really nailing down sleep hygiene, sleep routines that can help to just keep that brain fog at bay. So those are the 3 things that we're going to talk about in detail as much as we can. We'll go about 45 minutes and I'll stay on for questions at the end. And also, please use the chat if you have specific questions as we're talking, and we'll just see how it goes. Like, this is our first one here. I didn't do a whole lot of promotion on this. I wanted to keep it small and intimate because I'm really desiring having that kind of conversation with women. So a little bit about me, and if you'd like, you can put where you're from in the chat. It's always nice to see where we're all coming from. Just a little bit about me. I have been a teacher of body-mind practices ever since I was 15 years old. So I was a figure skater and I needed to pay for my skate time. And so I started teaching adults at 15. And I tell you this because there was something that got lit up inside of me when I started to teach adults how to skate. And that was seeing them come alive. It was seeing adults. I remember, of course, I was 15 years old, and I remember seeing their faces really scrunched up at the beginning of the lesson and their shoulders up by their ears. And over the course of the half hour, I don't even know how long the lessons were, but over the course of that lesson, I watched them become more childlike. I watched them relax and be happier. And I really caught that bug, that bug of when you're teaching people and exploring things with them and helping them get to know themselves better, you can really bear witness to them coming alive. And so I continued teaching my whole career. And I won't get into all the details, but it went from skating, figure skating and inline skating, to fitness, strength training, all kinds of aerobic training, then into yoga, breath training, meditation, nervous system regulation, and mental strength training. So I've always been teaching in that body-mind space, and I'm really very much intrigued about how our bodies really impact our perception of the world and our life and how we live. I specifically call myself a body-mind teacher instead of a mind-body teacher, because most of the information that goes from body to mind, 70% of it is going upstream and about 30% is going downstream. So really our physiology is impacting our psychology and how we think. much more so than we realize. So that's just a little bit about my professional life, but more importantly, I think, is my personal story, and that is I really went down for a few years, I'd say a good 4 years, with menopause brain fog. I had no idea, like so many women that I speak to, that I was going through perimenopause. I thought it was just burnout. I thought it was just me, right? We think it's us. We think it's all in our head. And then probably around 50, 52, around that time, again, I don't remember, I had that one day of menopause, right? That one day that is the year mark of your last period. Nowadays, more and more experts are just talking about the menopause cycle or the menopause continuum, because one day doesn't suffice, right? This is a 10 to 15-year cycle. But I went down, and it really started to impact a lot of my mental health and my physical health. And I stopped doing the things that I had been trained to do, all those things that I just listed off. And I found myself feeling really bad, really old, gained some weight, just felt unmotivated. I started to lack confidence in myself, started to question a lot of things that I was doing in my career. And so it really impacted me. I stopped moving my body the way I had been trained to move, and it caused a rapid decline in bone density and bone and muscle mass. And I'll talk a little bit more about that during the exercise portion. But 6 months ago, I had a hip replacement at 58. So there was a lot that happened. Thankfully, I found some solutions that helped to change my physiology, that helped to change my neurochemistry, that enabled me to start to feel clearer and see more clearly. And I remember the one day when I was like, oh my God, where have I been? Like, it was that profound, where I felt like all of a sudden everything looked brighter and clearer. And now, on the other side of that brain fog, I'm back to my curious self, back into the books, I'd stopped reading, right? Back into understanding this body-mind connection. And it's blowing my mind, because we are so undereducated as women. There's so little research about menopause and the brain, and there are so many women that are suffering. And so I really feel passionate about educating now about what helped me personally, and then also what I understand from my areas of expertise. So my hope for you tonight is just to take away a couple of nuggets. If I could say one thing or offer you a solution that can help you put something into action that could start that domino effect, like what happened to me. And so for me particularly, I got on a gut brain protocol that I'll talk about, and you've probably heard me talk about in the past, but changing my neurochemistry lifted the brain fog, which then allowed me to see and understand how I wasn't exercising right and how I wasn't sleeping well. And so then from there, from exercise, from sleep, I started to change my diet. I started to look into other supplementation. I started to really understand what was happening. So my hope for you is just to leave with a couple of nuggets, with some ideas, with a little inspiration, with some motivation around this idea of moving past the menopause brain fog. So with that, we're going to jump into symptoms, and I'd love to hear from you as I'm talking. If there are symptoms that are like, yep, that's me, just type them in the chat. Let's kind of populate what we're going through here together collectively. I will tell you that I'm going to put a link in the comments as well, but just a few hours ago, I published a course that I'm offering. It's a really sweet little course called Morning Messages, and it's going to help you in 29 days start to implement daily practices that you may not be doing to create that holistic set of daily practices. And what I'm really excited about with this course is that it's $19. This makes me really happy. I want to offer education out there that is going to help people at, and that is cost effective as well. So that's on my Stan store, which is on my TikTok profile, but I'll throw the link in here as well if you want to take a look. And literally like 2 hours ago, I just published it. So let's get on with some of the symptoms and the what Dr. Claire Warga talked about with misconnects of the brain. So I just want to grab one thing here. I think that most of you are on my email list, and if you're not, you will be after tonight. And you'll get this symptoms checklist. And I do incorporate this into the course, the morning messages. This symptoms checklist, I've done quite a bit of study about what are most of the symptoms when it comes to brain fog that can start in honestly, our mid-30s. Perimenopause can start in our mid-30s. It could last about 10 years. And so it's perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopause. We will be postmenopausal for the rest of our lives, by the way. The first couple of years are still pretty intense, but we may have these lingering symptoms forever, which is why we don't want to just, give in to them or believe a doctor who says there's nothing we can do about it. So let me just see what we've got. I've got all the symptoms of brain fog. Oh, Sandy, we had such a sweet conversation today. All right, so I want to share some of these symptoms with you, and I'd love to hear if you have a funny story, not so funny story, or if any of these are really dominant in your life. And the reason why I did this weekly checklist, which again, you'll get as part of my resources, is because awareness is key. And as a mindfulness teacher, I help people build awareness around different things in their life. Most of the time when you think of mindfulness, you think of your thoughts, but mindfulness and becoming aware of your physical body and the sensations and the changes and the subtle impulses and shifts in your body, we can become fluent in the language of our body, which is what mindfulness really is. So by starting to pay attention to your symptoms and checking them off every day, you can start to see some of the patterns and some of the things that you may really want to start addressing. So on the symptoms checklist are: today I couldn't concentrate, felt confused, was forgetful, had trouble speaking, was mentally tired, felt foggy, couldn't think clearly, felt insecure, felt sad, had no motivation, felt anxious, felt scattered. Okay, so these are just some, but these are the most general. So Rhonda says depression. Yeah, the sadness, the mood swings, it's all part of the changes. And I will explain a little bit more about what's going on. So as you share there what you feel, joint pain. Yeah, so go ahead and just share what you may be feeling. And I want to share with you a little bit more extensive list here. So I read this book. I've been reading a lot more. I'm so happy about it. Just about 2 months ago, Dr. Claire Warga, she wrote this book in 1999, which blows my mind because there's so little information about her and her work. And it's called Menopause and the Mind. And it's a heavy science book. So if you're a science geek, you'll like it. But what I took away from it is she created this, it's called the Warga's hormonal misconnection syndrome. It's a very fancy way of saying that there's there are real misconnects that are happening in our brain during this perimenopause menopause cycle. And part of the reason why it's happening is because estrogen is known as our memory molecule. The estrogen receptors in our brain help to, when the estrogen attaches up there, it helps us with brain function. So when estrogen is dropping or in chaos, which it is for most of us, so it's high, it's too high, it's too low, it's dropping, it's catapulting, there will be what she calls misconnects. And so I want to share with you some of these misconnects because it's quite frightening, actually. And you know that there is an increased risk for early onset dementia and Alzheimer's in women in our perimenopausal and menopausal years, 40s, 50s, 60s. So that's one of the reasons why I like that symptoms checklist, because you can check it all off and take it to your physician if you're concerned. A lot of us think that, there's something wrong with us. I'm losing my mind. What is going on? This is how I felt. I'm just going to briefly talk about this, just again, because it might spark something in you. Then I'm going to see Krista, Chantal, I'm going to see what you're saying. So part of the misconnect syndrome are thinking changes, and this comes from her research. Loss of train of thought, forgetting why you came in the room, lack of focus, foggy, hazy, inability to pull ideas out of the air, trouble prioritizing, speech changes, naming difficulties, loss for words, reversing words, relying on filler words, inability to organize sentences, right? So again, if any of these are like ahas, please put them in the chat. Changes in attention. In fact, we have Colleen on. Colleen is a partner of mine, and she really focuses on ADHD in kids and young adults, but ADHD in adults as well. And there are so many women that during this time period feel like they have ADHD. And in fact, a lot of women will go on meds for it, but it's part of this menopause continuum that we just are not educated about. So then there's also spatial skills changes. I laugh at this because, it's like changes. I don't laugh at it really. I kind of, one of them was spending less time reading, which was definitely something I experienced. I used to be a book a week girl, and then I just found I couldn't concentrate, not able to remember faces. Two more things: an altered sense of time where you forget appointments. I've done that in important events. Like if it's not on the Google Calendar, forget about it, right? It has to be on the Google Calendar. So the last one, and I think is an important one, is memory change. So because of these misconnects, because of the changes in estrogen, we may forget what we just did. I do that still. Missing links, like just can't make the connections, can't spell anymore. Has anybody experienced that? I did. Changes in memory recall and forgetting the content of things. So not to scare the life out of you all, but just to make you aware that our medical society, like our doctors, our physicians, even our therapists and our psychologists don't know about the impact that menopause has on the brain. So what can we do about it? Let me just see what we have here, because I want to make sure that I get to you. Okay. Sandy, IBS, muscle weakness, thyroid issues, and I know you're dealing with a lot of brain fog, forgetful, tired, disturbed sleep. We're going to get to sleep. From hot flashes. Yeah, we're going to talk about that, Chantel. All but insecurity. That's good. Sadness, anxiousness. Therapy this morning, though, had raging migraine. Migraines are a big menopause symptom. Colleen says, I had just joint and muscle pain, brain fog caused by inflammation. have been addressed through some of the solutions that we're going to talk about. IBS, 2 stomachs instead of 1. I'm not sure how to act around others. So that kind of social anxiety, overwhelm, depression, joint pain, brain fog, scatterbrain is Pam, joint pain. Yeah. So this is amazing. Isn't this all of them? Sassy says, 0 energy after work. I've always used to work out and ride my bike, but I'm ready for bed at 6 p.m. Oh my gosh, Krista, you and me both. I so rarely do these things at night because I just don't have, even though I am past the really hard part, I still am tired at night. So thank you all for sharing all of that. Definitely forgetting and missing part of routines, says Megan. And Shawl, my friend Stacy Hall, says yes. All right. So what's happening is because of this rewiring, and this rewiring that's happening during the menopause cycle can be compared to putting a new hard drive or new operating system in your laptop. I mean, think about how hard that is to do, right? And we don't do it. But our bodies over the course of 10 to 15 years are adapting to an evolutionary change. This is nothing that's being done to us. It's just evolution. The problem is we're just not educated about what happens and how to minimize the symptoms. And it's interesting because they're doing studies now just starting to do studies in different cultures. And they find that women in Japan just don't have hot flashes like we do. And, there are other cultures that have different types of symptoms that maybe Westerners don't. So when we get more information, we can then learn what we can do to decrease the symptoms naturally. And again, I don't talk about hormone replacement or bioidentical. I'm not against them. I just haven't sought them out. And if you're on anything and would like to share, I'm sure there are other women that would like to know. I'm actually doing a little more research. I don't think I will go on at this point, but I want to educate myself. So we're going to talk about the 3 solutions now: the gut-brain axis, exercise, and sleep. All 3 of these solutions, plus nutrition, and nutrition is number 1. Food is everything. I will weave in nutrition throughout these 3 solutions. But what we want to do as much as possible in order to move, I'm just looking for my props, in order to beat that menopause brain fog. And by the way, if you haven't seen my snow globe, this is our brain on brain fog. I mean, this is our mind. We're hazy and foggy. A lot of the brain fog is a result of not only the changes in menopause, which we're going to kind of shelf for a second because I want to talk about these solutions, but because of inflammation. So if we have excess inflammation in our system, it's going to feel like static in our brain. And there's a reason for that. And the reason is because our immune system, 70% of our immune system is down in our lower intestines, in our gut microbiome. So it's crazy because we think of everything as separate, and it's not. So we're going to talk about the gut microbiome. We're going to talk about the 2 communication channels. Remember that 70% of the information in the body-mind connection, 70% is body to mind, 30% is mind to body. So what's happening below our neck is really is impacting and directing not only our brain, but our perception in the world. So we want to understand what's happening in our body. So the gut microbiome is this ecology of thousands of strains of bacteria and other stuff. Like, research hasn't even gotten to the other stuff, which includes viruses, and we're still just looking at bacteria. And what we know is that these bacteria have functions. different strains of bacteria do different things. And we're learning, we're tracing Alzheimer's back to the gut and autism back to the gut. And we're learning about different bacteria that can support or protect us from certain diseases. What we also know is that our bacteria in our gut produce most of our feel-good neurotransmitters. And if you have questions on any of this, please just throw it in. The neurotransmitters include the four that we're going to focus on are serotonin, which you've probably heard of. Serotonin is our feel-good neurotransmitter. It boosts our mood. It makes us feel happy. And I'm being very general. Dopamine. We hear a lot about dopamine in the news, in social media, but dopamine is that neurotransmitter that helps us get up and go. It gives us pep in our step. It gives us the motivation and the kind of drive to do things. So 90% of our serotonin is produced by the bacteria in our gut. 70% of our dopamine for motivation, 70% of our norepinephrine, which is a neurotransmitter that helps with drive, attention, and focus. Again, all in the gut. And then GABA, which is a hormone that helps our body to relax. So our nervous system to regulate. 70% of GABA is produced in the gut. So anytime we have any kind of gut imbalance, which we call dysbiosis, and I'll talk about why our gut gets imbalanced in a second. Anytime there's an imbalance, it's going to affect the ecology, right? It's just like a garden. It's going to affect how well things sprout, how much they produce, how long they live. So our gut is this motherboard for our health and our mental health. And this is what we're learning in science. And so now we have this communication channel between the gut and the brain. And the two major highways are the immune system and the nervous system. So when there's excess inflammation or there's chronic stress, which is like, okay, it's 2023, like we're all dealing with a lot of that, right? Whenever there is disruption in those communication channels, think about the highway. I mean, I grew up in the New York area. I mean, the highways are always clogged. They're always a mess. And so when the highways are a mess because of excess stress and excess inflammation, the communication between the gut and the brain is going to be staticky. It's going to be interrupted. It's not going to be as clear. There's not going to be sharpness, clarity, acuity, flexibility in the mind. Okay. And then, of course, we just have brain function and our ability for our brains to grow, to clear, to cleanse. And we'll talk about that with sleep. So let me just check my time, because I am rattling on a lot about the gut-brain connection, but I think it's really important because it's going to make sense as we go down these three solutions. So about 3.5 years ago, somebody told me about this new science of the gut-brain connection. I immediately went out and bought a great book called The Mind-Gut Connection by Dr. Emran Mayer. He wrote one of the first books on this topic, and it led me to a protocol, which today I'm going to be talking about the Happy Mind Pack. And I'm teaching you this here today to educate you. It may be something you want to try. It may be something that you want to investigate the ingredients on. It may be something that you want to, try parts of or hold off on for right now. And that's okay. What is really important to recognize is that when we change our neurochemistry in our gut, it goes up the chain, it goes up the highways, it goes to the brain. So the Happy Mind Pack, and what really helped me and gave me that aha moment that day I guess it was about 3.5 years ago, because it was within the first week or two of taking this. What we're doing is we're introducing 3 targeted strains of probiotics, of bacteria, that have been clinically validated to improve mental wellness. So these 3 strains, and this is what's so exciting about the science, these 3 strains can help to reduce inflammation, the highway, increase stress resiliency, the other highway, decrease cortisol, nervous system, and then help with brain function and help with that connection. In addition to this Mentabiotics, which is part of this Happy Mind Pack, this in the next couple of weeks, you'll get what we call the Happy Juice. Happy Juice is a combination of neurotropics and adaptogens. And Stacy's drinking her Happy Juice. Let me just read. I want to read you because neurotropics and adaptogens aren't just found in these protocols that I'm talking about. They're found out there. There you can source things elsewhere. But I think it's important for you to understand what they are. So a neurotropic are supplements that have a positive impact on mental skills. So these are plants, and we have it in our Energy Plus and in Edge, and these are part of this Happy Mind Pack. Neurotropics have a positive impact on mental skills. They might improve cognitive function, attention, memory, creativity, and motivation. Like just from taking specific plants, high grade micronutrients. Adaptogens, these are the two I want to talk about. Adaptogens are non-toxic nutritional supplements, especially a plant extract that helps increase the body's ability to adapt to stressors and their damaging effects. So basically what an adaptogen does, and ashwagandha is a really good example of an excellent adaptogen. Ashwagandha is in a product I take in the Happy Mind Pack called Mood Plus. And one thing about ashwagandha is many doctors are actually recommending it now, which is a big deal. And ashwagandha helps with inflammation, it helps with relaxation, it helps with mood. So it's really one of those things that we should be, I hate shoulds, but if you're going to be taking some additional supplementation, you want to definitely look at a high grade ashwagandha. So when you, and you may have already received this if you're on my mail list, is I put together a 3-page natural ingredients list. And you can source some of these elsewhere. And all of these ingredients are in the Happy Mind Pack. So if you want more information, you can certainly reach out to me. I will put my, let me just see, I'm going to put my Stan Store in there. That link, by the way, you can get to that new course I was talking about called Morning Messages. And you can also click on some links to learn more about the Happy Mind Pack and some of the ingredients. So just to close out the gut-brain axis, and then I can answer questions later. For me and the people that I work with, my clients that I support, step one is at the gut level. If you're going, I've taught yoga for over 20 years. I owned a yoga studio for 16 years. I've taught meditation. I've taught these practices that can help with stress reduction. But there's no amount of yoga that's going to get down to the bacterial level of your gut microbiome. So I feel really called to help people with a holistic plan to help them improve their cognitive functioning. For me, step one is always the gut. It's always the gut with everybody that I talk to and everybody that I work with. So even if you were just trying the Mentabiotics, the probiotics, which I have there on my Stan Store, you can start small. You can build it up. You can source some of these ingredients elsewhere as well. These proprietary blends just have so many micronutrients all packed in. So I'm going to leave it at that. I hope that I sparked your curiosity, but I do want to be able to answer your questions if you have them going forward. So again, we were talking about inflammation. And so I want to pull in food and I want to pull in exercise and sleep. So The 4 ways that our gut microbiome gets thrown off, gets imbalanced. And I don't know if there's any order to this, but so just take it as it is. But food, right? Poor food choice, lots of sugar, processed food, crappy food, not enough diversity of food will throw off our gut balance. Second is stress. Because our vagus nerve, which is our wandering nerve, a cervical nerve that starts in our neck and our cervical spine, goes up into our face, goes down around our throat and our heart and around our ribs and down around our gut. This vagus nerve, which is this biggest nerve of our nervous system, when we are chronically stressed, it impacts our gut health, the gut integrity, the gut balance. This delicate balance gets thrown off by stress. So we've got food, stress, pharmaceuticals. Most pharma, I think it's probably just about all pharmaceuticals, whether it be over the counter or prescribed, is going to throw off our gut microbiome. Sandy and I talked today about antibiotics and how it wipes out our gut clean. And there are so many people that don't realize that their mood changes for a couple of weeks after a round of antibiotics. And that's because of the gut-brain connection. Because when the gut is not functioning and not flourishing, there's not going to be that flourishing of those neurotransmitters. Okay. And that's why a lot of people feel the just down after sickness and antibiotics. So we have food, stress, pharma, and then environmental toxins. So pollutants on your skin, pollutants in your cleaning products, pollutants in the air, they're going to get down there as well and throw off that balance. So this is where I'm going to bring in sleep. I'm going to pull in exercise at the end. If we're not sleeping, and we're going to talk about a sleep routine, if we're not sleeping well, it will increase the inflammation in our body. Our bodies need to sleep. And, experts say it's 7 hours minimum. 8 hours is about the right amount of good quality sleep. Now, I know I'm talking about menopause and sleep, so we're going to get to interrupted sleep. But when we don't sleep well, our body doesn't have the ability to really cleanse itself. And it's not just our body below the neck and the recovery that happens in our muscles and our digestive system, but it's our brain. So our brain at night during sleep goes through this process of cleansing, and it's called the glymphatic system. And if we don't sleep well, if we don't have deep sleep, we will wake up with brain fog. Has that ever happened to any of you, where you wake up with this fog? So that's why having a sleep routine is so important. And I've pulled together my sleep routine on my resources. So we'll get you those. If you haven't gotten them already, it's probably a day or 2 or 3 away. And it has a list of about 20 things that we can do at night and some things that we can do in the morning to help our body's natural pharmacy produce melatonin at night and serotonin in the morning. So that's our circadian rhythm, is how serotonin comes online in the morning and that melatonin comes on at night. So I don't take melatonin. I do take some supplementation at night, like magnesium, omega. I take my B12 at night, and then also a sleep plus product that is an adaptogen that helps my body produce its own melatonin. So those are just from the supplement side. And if you have questions on any of those, you can let me know. But 2 things I want to address, and I know I'm kind of always do this and I talk too much, but there's just so much education that we can learn here. So I'm just going to say one more thing about sleep when it comes to menopause. So I definitely still suffer with night sweats, but They are far and few between these days. During the time when I was really in the brain fog phase, it was really keeping me up at night. It was really affecting my sleep. There are a couple of things that I found. I wear an Oura ring, Oura, which helps to track sleep. That was really helpful for me. But the two things, and I've read a lot about this as well, that will impact us women during this cycle at night is if we eat too late or too much or too heavy a meal, too much protein, too much, you know what I'm talking about, a meal that's just hard to digest. And if we drink alcohol at all, but if we drink it too late and too much, those are the two biggies for me that I found can really, really help with the night sweats in particular. When it comes to the mind at night, I think, and from what I've experienced and what I've researched, the blue blockers, these are blue blockers. They block the blue rays from TVs and phones. Blue rays stimulate the production of serotonin. They keep us awake at night. So we want to block those to allow our body to produce melatonin. So those are just a couple of things that you can do, and just really having a wind down. But like there's 20 more here on this list. Okay. So what I'd like to do is I want to open this up to your questions, and I will weave in the two exercise points as we're talking, but I want to make sure that I value your time. And we have a good 15 minutes left here. I know I said 45 minutes, but I'm open for, questions. So that's what I'd love to do, is to have you unmute if you have a question, and let's see what comes up. And I, like I said, I'll weave in the exercise in here as we chat. So anybody that has something that you want to share or you have a question about, then you can go ahead and just unmute yourself. We're a small group.
Hi, I have a
Sandy.
question.
Yes.
Hi there. Yes, I was going over some of the ingredients. There was one, the pine bark.
New Zealand pine bark.
Yes, that could be a little bit of a problem.
Oh, for your allergies.
Yes,
Mhm.
that's the only reason why. So what would you suggest that I would do, or any one of us could do, if we have we're not able to take those
Right.
supplements?
Yeah. So,
Thank you.
one thing that we can do, and you and I can talk about this, is, we can start you on, like, the Mood Plus doesn't have the New Zealand pine bark in it. There are different things that you can do to work around, and then you could always try, and I could even send you a small sample so you can see if it's something that is a problem. You can kind of test it. So
Sure.
there's so many ways that we can work around those types of things. That's a good question.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Mhm.
Anybody have questions? We can talk about sleep. We can talk about the gut brain. We can talk about the symptoms of menopause and those misconnects, and then also exercise. Don't be shy. Or you could put your question in the comments as well.
This is Krista.
Hi, Krista.
Hi. I think a lot of mine is my gut issue. Very swollen, I had a terrible time with COVID with my stomach, and my intestines had infections in both after COVID. But they gave me medication, and I thought that all went away. But I just started compound hormones. Just started a CPAP machine. I'm on melatonin. I mean, not melatonin, metformin. I'm on a high blood pressure pill. I thought that this would all help me, but it hasn't. And I still just feel off.
Yeah.
Could it just be all in my gut?
Well, I mean, it's hard for me to say, right?
Right.
But I'm sorry that you're having to go through all of this. what we have experienced, when I say we, it's a lot of the people that I'm working with that are also really focused on the gut brain health. What we have found is that when you're on a lot of medication, as you are right now, and you start a gut protocol, people start to feel better, and then they start to make conscious decisions about what they may or may not need when it comes to their medications. So we've seen people go, and we see these pictures, a bowl full of pills to 2 pills, after starting to, because what happens when, and this happened for me, what happens when your gut starts to function better and you really do start to feel there's just a calmness in your body, right? So it's not only stress, it's like your body's just finding its way back to homeostasis, which it's always trying to do. When that happens, we become more curious. Not only does our gut start to crave different foods, the good bacteria will start to crave the cauliflower, seriously, and the broccoli instead of the sugar and the salt in the starch, because we're changing the soil. So what happens then is, as we start to feel better, we start to do other things better. And this is what excites me, because I know that for me, once I started to feel better, I started to really look at my sleep. It's when I got the Aura Ring. It's when I started to look at all these different sleep things that could help me. It's when I started to then start to exercise smarter. And the 3 things that I really promote as a certified strength coach that we do in menopause, I didn't know this even 6 years ago, is plyometrics, jumping every day. Just jump 20 times, 3 times a day, like, in your kitchen, because it's helping with blood flow. It's helping with bone density. It's helping to contract your muscles. Our muscles, actually, when they contract, they have a estrogen producing effect. So it's one of the reasons why weightlifting, strength training, or resistance training with bands is also number 2, the second most important thing. There's no order, but because we can help our body produce a little more estrogen. We can do it through food and phytoestrogens, and we can do it through movement by moving a certain way, not just walking. So jumping, resistance training, and then the third is interval training. When you're taking a walk, put a little timer on, get a free timer off your phone, walk fast for 40 seconds, and then take a break for 40 seconds. Walk fast, take a break, stress your heart, break the sweat, get the blood flow. It's all going to help with brain function and just with body health as well. So there, I got my exercise in. Very happy. I had to do that. Wonderful. Okay, let me just see if I've, why do you take supplements at night and not in the morning? It's a really good question, Stacy. So there are some qualities about omega, and omega and Bs should be taken together. If you're taking omega-3, which we all should be taking, by the way, has a ton of anti-inflammatory effects and also brain function. It helps with brain growth. It's really important. I have a very high quality omega-3 that I take. I don't think I have the link in my Stan store, but I can get you the link. And it there's just some quality that helps to relax. And also, I think most importantly for me, Stacy, this omega-3 doesn't give me fishy burps, but it has a trace of lavender in it. And sometimes if I take it in the day, I feel the lavender. It's so weird. But like the fishiness that happens with omegas, it's why I take it at night. So I just don't have to deal with any of that. Magnesium at night, magnesium biglycerate is what I take. I get it on Amazon. I could share the kind that I take. I like it a lot. Helps with relaxation. It helps with inflammation. It's great to take at night. And so that's why I take those at night. And also sometimes I'll take Mood Plus, which is the ashwagandha. This Mood Plus, which is ashwagandha and Kana Rafuma And I always forget the other, magnolia bark. I mean, crazy that these plants have such medicinal qualities. And of course, these products that I talk about are based on Ayurvedic medicine and traditional Chinese medicine. And they've got clinical backing, clinical trials behind them. They're highly sourced pharmaceutical grade supplements. But they're based on this ancient wisdom, which I love. I love that. Awesome. Well, we've got about 5 minutes left. I'd love to, hear anything else. Any other questions that you have?
I have a question.
Yes, Pam. Hi.
Hi. I was wondering, as far as the gut issue, do you have gut issues? I mean, will you know? Like, I hear people talk about indigestion or gas or those types of things. So can you not have those things, but still have an issue with the gut-brain connection, I guess? I really don't.
That's a great question. Wow, I love that. Yeah, I'm gonna just say yes, even
Okay.
though I don't know why I get to say yes, but the gut is a motherboard. And so, what happens for a lot of people when there is inflammation, right, that goes right down into our gut. And irritable bowel syndrome is a thinning of the lining of our gut. And that lining is just one molecule, one cell, rather thick. So it's so easy for the junctures in our gut to become thin and open, which then what happens is that food particles and free radicals get into our system and irritate things. So any kind of, even a little bit of gut issue or stress, or what Dr. Sean Talbot, who, a great book, I don't think I have it right here, is called Mental Fitness. It is all about the gut brain axis. And Dr. Sean Talbot is the chief formulator of these products in the Happy Mind Pack. And what he says is you can change your microbiome at lunch, like depending on what you eat. If you go eat that Big Mac and French fries, your microbiome and your mood will suffer in some respect. Most of us aren't aware enough to actually notice, although like on Halloween, like who doesn't notice kids after Halloween or the day after Halloween? Kids are like bonkers, right?
I've noticed
food.
that with me and sugar.
Yes.
I mean, I can have some, but like when we're at the birthday party and, oh, I'm going to take a little piece of cake. Oh, I'm going to have another. Oh, I want another. I am so depressed the next day, and I'm not a depressed person. So it's very obvious that something happened to me, in that process. But I was just curious about the gut issue and probiotics. I'm not sure if you mentioned that, but is that part of the Happy Mind?
Yes, absolutely. Probiotic prebiotic blend, which is called Mentabiotics, which did I put let me just put this link down one more time. You can grab it right there. That is the keystone product. And I also have that as just a one-off, if there's a cost issue, just get the Mentabiotics, start there. That is like getting into the soil of your garden, turning it over, fertilizing it, putting in some good fertilizer, watering it. It is 3 probiotics and 3 matching prebiotic fibers that feed those specific probiotics, because different strains of bacteria like to eat different things. And that's one important thing I didn't say. What I love is Dr. Will B. wrote a great book called Fiber Fueled. And he recommends putting a piece of paper on your refrigerator, putting 1 through 30 on there. And in the next 5 days, he says a week, I say 3 to 5 days, try to get 30 different plants and fruits in your diet. And that can include the herbs you use. It can, because I mean, look at all these herbs I've been talking about. It could include the oregano and the garlic and the onions and the cabbage and the apple and the fruit in the morning. Try to get to 30, because the more diversity of fiber we can eat and then supplement with, the more diversity of good bacteria, the food they'll have to eat. And that way, the good food, the good bacteria flourishes, and the bad bacteria will start to slough and die away. And that's when our cravings change. If you ever notice, when you go off sugar, you stop craving sugar. It's not because
like
you've
a
become
switch.
more disciplined. It's your
Yeah.
gut.
Okay. I've definitely experienced that. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank-
So exciting. Well, listen, I want to make sure that I respect our time here. If anybody else has any other questions, please throw them in the chat. Reach out to me. I think you all have access to me at this point. And I'm here to support you in all these ways. I'm really excited about this new course. I'm really excited to just walk people along with these morning messages, either by text or by email, to both motivate you and educate you on how to establish these daily practices of sleep, exercise, food, and there's other daily practices in this course as well called Morning Messages. So let me know how else I can help you. Please email, text, find me on TikTok, and reach out to me about the Happy Mind Pack. By the way, just one last thing is, until the 15th of May, they are offering 6 products for the cost of 3. So there's a couple of free products in there in this Happy Mind Pack. It's all built in to that link in that stand store. So, but don't hesitate to reach out, and I'm here to support you 100% of the way. And as Stacy knows, when you start to work with me, if you want to try one of these protocols, you get me, right, Stacy? You get me. I'm a text away. I'm walking you through. I'm educating you. We're going to figure this out and help you start to move the needle together. So,
And I know it's late, Cara, but I've been very seriously happy with it. And I noticed my anxiety is a lot more controlled than it was prior. So the
That's-
Mood Plus for me personally I'm very grateful.
yeah.
So thank
Oh,
you.
I'm so happy. And what has it been, a month? Has it been a month yet?
I think it's been 3 weeks, so we're getting there, yes.
Wow.
But
That's amazing.
and the Mood Plus has helped me personally from just thinking differently, being a little more optimistic and wanting to get out there because I was kind of in a space where I just wanted to stay inside and I did not want to be social. So I've just been started exercising, eating right, and I love my happy juice. So cheers. Thank you.
And the happy juice is part of that Happy Mind Pack. It's all in there this month. Thank you. I mean, it just makes my day. I know how it impacted my life, and that's why I just want to share with others, in addition to supporting you with other practices, because once you start to feel better, you start to do better right down the line. I can't wait for, to see you in a month or two and what you're doing. Wonderful, everybody. Thank you so much once again. I look forward to continuing our conversation. Have a great night, everyone. Thank you. Thank you, Stacy.
Thank you.